Today's lesson is going to be on factoring trinomials in two variables. When we factor using two variables, we can use all the same strategies we've learned before: sum and product, decomp, box method, GCF, whichever one you choose, or whichever one fits the trinomial best. So a little hint for you, I recommend starring this, highlighting it, whatever you need to do so that you don't forget this. If the third term in the trinomial is positive, the operations in both the binomial factors will be the same. That means that if your second term is negative, both your binomial factors are going to have a negative sign in the center of them. So something x minus something y times something x minus something y. If the second term is positive, these operations will be addition, meaning I will have something x plus something y times something x plus something y. Now, if the third term in the trinomial is negative, the operations in the binomial factors will be addition and subtraction. So I will have one of each, something x plus something y times something x minus something y. No matter what this middle term is, it's going to be negative. If your third term is negative, it might be positive. Doesn't matter. You're going to have an addition and a subtraction. It's all good. Now, example number 1. 2x squared minus 7xy plus 3y squared. The two binomial factors are going to have the following form: x something x minus something y times something x minus something y. Reason being, I have a positive term 3, but a negative second term, which means both of these are going to be negative. I'm going to show you how to do this using the sum and product method. The next example, we'll use a different method just to give you a variety. So we're going to list the possible factors of 2x squared and 3y squared, then guess and test to determine which combination of products has the sum, so adds to negative 7xy. So my factors of 2x squared are 1x and 2x. My factors of 3y squared are negative 3y and negative 1y. Now, I'm going to list my factors vertically, not horizontally. So 1x and 2x are going to go one over the other. My negative 1y and negative 3y are one over the other. The reason I'm doing this is that if we have a resulting answer of negative 7xy, it's easy for me to show you which numbers go in what set of brackets to make life really simple. So in this case, to get what our sum would be of our two products, we're going to multiply across. Just like cross multiplication, I'm going to go 1x times negative 3y, and I'm going to get negative 3xy. I'm now going to take negative 1y, multiply it by 2x, and I'm going to get negative 2xy. When I add these two together, because it is a sum that we're looking for, we're going to get negative 5xy. This is not the number we're looking for. Once again, we were looking to get negative 7xy. This combination of factors doesn't work for what I need, so we're going to move on to a different set of factors. In order to move on to a different set of factors, we're just going to switch up which y value goes with which x value. So I now have 1x and 2x, didn't change them, but I flopped my 3y and my negative 1y. Reason I did that was they'll wind up in different sets of brackets if this works out. So 1x times negative 1y gives me negative 1xy. 2x times negative 3y gives me negative 6xy. If I add these two together, I do get negative 7xy, which is what I was looking for. So it is the correct combination of factors. Now that I have the correct combination of factors, I'm going to bring down my little square I had here because I know it works. In order to get what goes in what brackets, you're going to draw a circle around the things that are horizontally across from each other. So 1x and negative 3y go together, 2x and negative 1y go together. That means that these numbers go in a set of brackets, and you're going to use the sign that is assigned to your y value. So I wind up with 2x minus 1y and 1x minus 3y. The order of your brackets does not matter, so I can go 1x minus 3y times 2x minus 1y, but the order of the numbers within your brackets does, so be very careful that you have them in the right order. Example number 2, we're going to use decomp method, but let's take a look at what the question is. 10x squared minus xy minus 2y squared. Because I have a negative third term, I'm going to have a bracket that is positive and a bracket with a subtraction sign because of this negative here. Using the decomp method, we're going to find two numbers that are going to multiply to 10 times negative 2, which is negative 20, but add to negative 1. So factors of negative 20 are 1 and negative 20, negative 1 and 20, 2 and negative 10, negative 2 and 10, 4 and negative 5, and negative 4 and positive 5. When I take these factors and I add them all together, I will find that 4 and negative 5 is the only one that's going to give me negative 1. So this needs to be the set of factors that I'm going to use. When I'm using a set of factors using decomp, we now place them so we have 4 terms we've turned our trinomial into a polynomial with 4 terms. So it's going to read 10x squared plus 4xy minus 5xy minus 2y squared. I'm then going to remove a GCF from the first 2 terms and a GCF from the last 2 terms. So my GCF in my first 2 terms is going to be 2x because both of them have an x and both are divisible by 2. What I'm left with when I pull out a 2x from both of those terms is 5x plus 2y. My GCF in my second 2 terms is going to be negative 1y. I chose to pull out a negative 1y because I need to have a positive 2y, and in order to do that, I have to take out a negative. So I'm left with negative y times 5x plus 2y. Now these 2 brackets are the same, so I can bring them down, write it as 5x plus 2y, and what I'm left with is a 2x and a negative 1y. Those are going to go in a set of brackets together to give me an answer of 2x minus 1y times 5x plus 2y. Now, I know some of you prefer the box method of decomp versus the equation method that I just showed you, so here is what your box method would look like. I'm going to place the first term in my trinomial in the first box. The last box is going to have my third term, and in the middle are going to be the 2 factors we found in the previous step. I'm now going to remove a GCF from all rows and all columns. So 10x squared, 4xy, pulling out a 2x. My sign that goes with my GCF I'm pulling out has to be associated with the highest power of x. X was the first variable within our trinomial, so that is what we are going to deal with. We are dealing with the highest power of x when it comes to what sign does our GCF take. So x squared is my highest power of x. It's going to be a positive 2x that I pull out. Negative 5xy minus 2y squared, my highest power of x is in here. It's a negative, so my GCF I'm going to pull out is a negative number. There is nothing in common other than a y for both of these, so I'm going to pull out a negative 1y. Going down to the columns here, 10x squared and negative 5xy, they're both divisible by 5. They both have an x, so I can pull out a 5x. It's going to be positive because my highest power of x is positive. 2xy minus 2y squared, my highest power of x is once again positive, so I'm going to pull out a positive 2y. They are both divisible by 2, and they both have a y. Now, the numbers that are along the sides here, 2x and negative 1y and 5x and 2y, become your brackets. So what you pulled out from your rows becomes one set of brackets. What you pulled out from your columns becomes your second set. You'll notice that I have 5x plus 2y times 2x minus 1y, and that is the exact same thing that we had using the arithmetic method in the step above. Moving on to the your turns. You can choose to do these in whichever method you choose to do. Doesn't really matter as long as you come up with the same answer. So our question is 5x squared minus 3xy plus 6y squared. The binomial factors are going to have a form of x minus y and x minus y because I have a positive and my second term is negative. I went through and found the factors of 5x squared, so 1x and 5x, and the factors of 6y squared, which is negative 1y, negative 6y, negative 2y, and negative 3y. Once again, these are negative because I have negative signs in both of my brackets. I'm going to go through, I'm going to set up my little squares here. I'm going to cross multiply, and then I'm going to go and I'm going to find the one that works the best. So remember, your x's never change. First one I went 1x and 5x, negative 1y, negative 6y. That didn't work, so I decided to flip 6 and 1 and see if maybe that would work. Negative 6, negative 1, once again, didn't work. I went with negative 2 and negative 3. That one did give me the correct set of factors. However, I did show you that there is a fourth one if you chose to do negative 3y and negative 2y first. It didn't give you the right one, so you would just essentially flip them to get the correct set of factors. Now that I have the correct set of factors, I'm going to bring that back down. I'm going to draw my circles, and it's going to give me an answer of negative 1 minus 3y times 5x minus 2a. Remember, when you are factoring trinomials, you can always use the distribution property. You can multiply it out, combine like terms, just to make sure your answer is correct if you're worried about that. Last question is 3x squared minus 5xy minus 2y squared. The 2 binomial factors are going to have the form of 1 is going to be addition and 1 is going to be subtraction because I had a negative third term. Now, I went with my factors of 3x squared are 1x and 3x. My factors of 2y become negative 1y and 2y, or negative 2y and positive 1y. Remember, I have 1 positive, 1 negative, so I have to flip the signs, and one set of factors actually equals 2. I'm going to use my lovely little square method here because that's the one I prefer to use. And I'm going to see that the one that gives me the correct answer is this one right here, where I have negative 1x times negative 1y to give me xy, times 3x and negative 2y to give me negative 6xy. When I add them together, I get negative 5xy. So I'm going to bring that down, use it, draw my lovely circles here to create what my brackets are going to be. And my answer should be 1x minus 2y times 3x plus 1y. You do not have to put the 1 in front of the x and the y. If you choose to just go x minus 2y times 3x plus y, perfectly acceptable.